Chappell talks about how his life has gotten sucky over the last few months, in particular how a friend of his informed him of what had been done. When he told me the agency had been infecting me with a specialized strain of the HIV virus over the length of my career. So I looked this up, because that plan sounds like one of the dumbest ever in the history of this show. And it's only slightly less stupid. The idea was that this particular strain was dormant unless their agency activated it. Why it needed to be HIV and not just some other poison or the like is not made clear, but it's made even dumber when you realize that, at least according to Wikipedia, Chappell is a known womanizer. I don't know if that's really the case or not, since in the 10 issues of this series I've covered, we saw him sleeping with one woman in the first issue, which at this point feels like 1,000,000 years ago. But if that is supposed to be the case, then congratulations! Every woman he slept with, assuming he didn't use a condom, and really, I cannot envision this guy doing that, has this strain. Well, some might scoff, that's not a big problem. As long as it remains dormant among all these partners, it shouldn't really be an issue. Yeah, funny thing about that, one of the things that's kept scientists from developing a vaccine or cure for HIV is the fact that it mutates like crazy! The idea that they have this one dormant strain that they can just keep as a safeguard is laughable considering how HIV works! And you gave it to the guy known for having sex! But since we need to accept this stupid plot point to move forward with Chappell's story here, let's continue. Chappell thought he was a dead man walking. Wynn had me shuffled in and out of that joke-ass Bloodstrike outfit. I mean, did you ever try to do that rub-off Bloodstain gimmick on its cover? It never worked! So then Chappell realized that if Spawn could come back from the dead, then maybe he could too. And indeed, that's what he now plans to do. Kill himself and come back even more powerful. I've got bigger plans for my return. Plans that will change everything forever!
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
Hey, Chappell, any plan that requires you to kill yourself as step one probably needs a bit more workshopping. Spawn tries to get him to stop, but it's no good. Chappell shoots himself in the head. As I said at the beginning of this episode, I will not be showing you the 2-page spread of his suicide, because it is absolutely tasteless. It's frankly disgusting that it ever saw print. It's not like Liefeld tried to put it in silhouette or something. No, we needed to see the full gore of the scene in its already badly drawn detail. And I mean gore. I feel uncomfortable even describing any major details, so I will not be doing that either. And I could criticize so much else about it. How Chappell is holding the gun in a weird way. How the gun itself is so ridiculous, and it's apparently a laser pistol according to the text boxes. Just the actual effect of the shot. But it doesn't really matter, because the act itself, drawing a suicide that he apparently reveled in every bit of grisly line work, not to make any kind of point, not to show off the absolute horror of the act, but just because he probably thought it looked cool. I might be wrong about that or his intentions, but this is Rob Liefeld, and he has earned no benefit of the doubt. And it's not helped that he specifically thanked another artist, Stephen Platt, for layout assistance and inspiration for the bit. And here's the best part. They show this graphic, gory suicide, but they made sure on a previous page to censor the word ass. Because, you know, this is a classy book. This sequence is terrible already looking at it in 2018, but then you realize the surrounding context of this. Chappell probably would not be considering this idea if not for the fact that he is HIV positive. He even admits that he sees himself as a dead man walking. This came out in 1994, when AIDS became the leading cause of death for Americans aged 25 to 44, before multi-drug therapies and treatments were widely available. if even available at all. For many, being HIV positive was a death sentence, to the point where people took their own lives because of that news. And the creative team of this book had the audacity to turn something as real, as horrible, and truly tragic as that. Not to examine the realities of it. Not to show the feelings that people had at the time that they had to deal with. Not to explore depression or any sense of hopelessness that could bring someone to do such a thing. No. Just a minor plot point for their character's evil plan. And yet, said character is supposed to be a good guy, I guess. The next generation of heroes, everybody. Wynn says he knows about what Geiger told Chapel and knows that he's here to kill him. However, Wynn informs him that the injections that were given to him were an insurance policy against him causing problems later. Now, you expect this revelation now to be how he was deliberately infected with AIDS, and you'd be correct. Partly. Some 20 years ago, someone in research and development stumbled upon a highly lethal virus. Such was the nature of one particular strain of the virus that our government chose to release it into the populace as a form of population control. So, yes, according to this comic written by Rob Liefeld and Eric Stevenson, the U.S. government created AIDS as a form of population control in this universe!
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you forever. Fuck yourselves. Go fuck yourselves, you fucks.
I don't know whose idea this was. Liefeld is credited for story, Stevenson for the actual script, with Stevenson also serving as the editor, but frankly, both of them should feel ashamed of this. This isn't like the frickin' Tunguska event or something, where it's fun to have a weird sci-fi explanation for it because, hey, it's a mystery and we don't really know the cause of it, and no harm, no foul. There are 3 speculated deaths from it, but none confirmed, especially when it was over 100 years ago. This was a real pandemic that was killing real people at the time of its printing, and they made it part of the backstory to their little garbage side series that it was actually a plot by the government for a nonsense population control conspiracy! Last week, I reviewed a comic containing cannibalism, decapitation, and an ongoing storyline where it's frequently joked that the main character might have to eat poop. And this is the book that I am truly disgusted by! And hey, this book came out in 1993, around 30 years ago. Liefeld was 26 at the time, Stevenson 25. When we're younger and dumber, we make a lot of stupid mistakes, and I sincerely doubt they'd be writing the same kind of edgelord conspiracy theory trash if they made this book today. Like saying COVID or leukemia or any real deadly disease was cooked up by the United States government for population control. But at the same time, I don't know if they've ever acknowledged or apologized for writing it in either. Mind you, that could just be because nobody was reading this book at the time, and I'm the first person to have actually flipped through this in over 20 years. I'm not kidding. I tried to find out if anyone else talked about this, and while there are occasional summaries of this issue, they never mentioned the AIDS was an invention of the US government thing. Only that Chapel was infected. I finally found a single blog from 2011 that brought it up, but pretty much just brushed it off, admitting that if you ignore the US/AIDS stuff, the story's not half bad. No accounting for personal taste, but why would you ignore that? That's one of the big reasons why this thing is awful. Oh, also, that review was the last thing they posted on their blog. Is that why nobody talks about this? Am I gonna get a secret hit squad put on me for mentioning it? But yeah, as always, no harassment or anything for the 2 creators, but I really wish there would be some kind of acknowledgement of this from them and recognizing, oh god, yeah, what was I thinking? This is awful. Then again, Liefeld himself is probably more concerned with the fact that he doesn't own Youngblood anymore, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, Chapel doesn't believe that he's been infected with the virus, but Wynn says it doesn't matter if he does or not. He won't find any evidence of him being deliberately infected, but he's already informed Youngblood of him having it, and they intend to discharge him from the group on the basis of having it. The next generation of heroes. A bunch of assholes who will kick out their own teammate because of being infected with a deadly virus. In turn, if he tries to accuse Wynn of doing this publicly, they'll deny it, and Chapel's reputation for promiscuity will be used against him. In an unnecessary splash page, Chapel yells, "No!" which of course doesn't match the artwork, with the dialogue below better going with it. In this case, he wonders what the hell is stopping him from killing Wynn for doing all this. Wynn says that he can try, but he won't, because he has the cure for AIDS, and is apparently withholding this from the population!
I'm the government, I'm the government, I'm the reason nothing works.
And so our story ends with Wynn stating, "Yeah, I'll give you the cure if you come work for me again." And Chapel is left standing there holding guns. And? God, I wish it was. But no, this of course led to the events we saw play out in the main Youngblood book. Thank God we have more context now! Youngblood Strike File's first 3 issues told 2 stories side by side. One where Die Hard was rescuing an old colleague of his who had been kidnapped and turned into a cyborg killing machine, and the other explained the backstory of Chapel and how the US government infected him with AIDS in order to try to control him, even revealing that the government had created AIDS. Now, some of you were keen to point out that that was a legit conspiracy theory at the time, so the writer was just drawing upon then current events. I still have problems with that. For starters, perhaps it's not wise to draw upon actual conspiracy theories and calling them true in your superhero book when it's something in this vein. Stuff like Area 51 or the Phoenix Lights incident or the Tunguska event are one thing. You know, aliens and mysterious things that we don't really have an explanation for are in good fun. Taking a real-life illness that was killing real people and facing stigma and harm for their association with it, however, and then advancing a belief that could influence people in really bad ways? I'm basically saying this is the equivalent of putting in a Superman comic that vaccinations cause autism, and saying it's all true. But it's a fictional story, you might say. Yeah, but drawn upon the real world and advocating for a position that will harm people if you advance it. If you're gonna pull something like this, at least make the entire thing fictional. That, like, the vaccinations for an alien-created plague that will turn people into rocks or something, and Superman has to go and punch the aliens until they leave. Yeah, the allegory is bad, but at least you could argue that it's different enough to not be taken seriously. Don't just go and say, the government created AIDS and are using it for secret nefarious activities. I'm just saying, the government has plenty of real things we can be mad at them for. We don't have to make up stuff for that.